Yo, that's fire.
Of halflings for many a long year, and did not know that any yet dwelt in Middle-earth. You do not look evil, and since you come with an elf of our kindred, we are willing to befriend you as Elrond asked, though it is not our custom to lead strangers through our land. But you must stay here tonight. How many are you? 8, said Legolas. Myself, 4 hobbits, and 2 men, one of whom, Aragorn, is an elf friend of the folk of Westerness.
What's up, Shawnee?
The name of Aragorn, son of Arathorn, is known in Lorien, said Haldir.
Aye.
And he has the favour of the lady. All then is well. But you have yet spoken only of 7. The 8th is a dwarf, said Legolas. A dwarf, said Haldir. That is not well. We have not had dealings with the dwarves since the dark day.
Yo, Sean, I appreciate you, bro. You're a legend.
We cannot allow him to pass.
But he's from the Lonely Mountain, one of Dane's trusty people, and friendly to Elrond,
said Frodo.
Elrond himself chose him to be one of our companions, and he has been brave and faithful.
The elves spoke together in soft voices, and questioned Legolas in their own tongue. Very good, said Haldir at last. We will do this, though it is against our liking. If Aragorn and Legolas will guard him, and answer for him, he shall pass. But he must go blindfolded through Lothlorien. But now we must debate no longer. Your folk must not remain on the ground. We have been keeping watch on the rivers ever since we saw a great troop of orcs going north towards Moria along the skirts of the mountains many days ago.
We're gonna try and get down to. We're gonna try and do at least 1,800
If indeed come from Moria,
fucking
the peril cannot be far behind.
U-bows. 1,800 U-bows. Get it down to 1,000, and we only have to do 2,500 each.
The 4 robbers shall climb up here and stay with us. We do not fear them. There is another tower.
Shit, maybe we even try and just use a
The
ball of
others
our
must
nature
take
runes.
refuge. You, Legolas, must answer to us for them. Call us if anything is amiss.
I think we just use up all of our nature runes tonight, possibly.
Legolas
See how that
at once
goes,
went
how
down
long
the
that
ladder to
takes.
take Haldir's message, and soon afterwards Merry and Pippin clambered up on the high flat. They were out of breath and seemed rather scared.
There,
Said Merry, panting.
we have locked up your blankets, as well as our own. Strider has hidden up all the rest of your baggage in a steep drift of leaves.
You had no need for your burdens, said Haldir. It is cold in the treetops in winter, though the wind tonight is in the south. But we have food and drink to give you that will drive away the night chill. And we have skins and cloaks to spare. The hobbits accepted.
We've
the
got
second and
skins
fast
to
food supper.
spare.
Then they wrapped themselves warmly, not only in the fur cloaks of the elves, but in their own blankets as well, and tried to go to sleep. But weary as they were, only Sam found that easy to do. Hobbits do not like heights, and do not sleep upstairs, even when they have any stairs. The flat was not at all to their liking as a bedroom. It had no walls, not even a rail. Only on one side there was a light plated screen, which would be moved and fixed in different places according to the wind. Pippin went on talking for a while.
I hope that if I do get to sleep in this bed loft, that I shan't roll off.
Once I do get to sleep, said Sam, I shall go on sleeping whether I roll off or no. And the less said,
Cheers.
the sooner I'll drop off, if you take my money. Frodo lay for some time awake, and looked up at the stars, glinting through the pale roof of quivering leaves. Sam was snoring at his side long before he himself closed his eyes. He could dimly see the grey forms of 2 elves sitting motionless with their arms about their knees, speaking in whispers. The other had gone down to take up his watch on one of the lower branches. At last, lulled by the wind in the boughs above, and and the sweet murmur of the falls of Nimrodel below, Frodo fell asleep, with the song of Legolas running in his mind. Late in the night he awoke. The other hobbits were asleep. The elves were gone. The sickle moon was gleaming dimly among the leaves. The wind was still. A little way off, he heard a harsh laugh and the tread of many feet on the ground below. There was a ring of metal. The sounds died slowly away.
Want to close my door,
Seemed
please?
to go southward, on into the wood. A head appeared suddenly through the hole in the flet. Frodo sat up in alarm and saw that it was a grey-hooded elf. He looked towards the hobbits.
What is it?
Said Frodo. Yeah, said the elf in a hissing whisper, and cast onto the flet a rope ladder rolled up.
Orcs,
said Frodo.
what are they doing?
But the elf had gone. There were no more sounds. Even the leaves were silent, and the very falls seemed to be hushed. Frodo sat and shivered in his wraps. He was thankful that they had not been caught in the ground, but he felt that the trees offered little protection except concealment. Orcs were as keen as hounds on a scent, it was said, but they could also climb. He drew out Sting. It flashed and glittered like a blue flame, and then slowly faded again and grew dull. In spite of the fading of his sword, the feeling of immediate danger did not leave Frodo. Rather, it grew stronger. He got up and crawled into the opening and peered down. He was almost certain that he could hear stealthy movements at the tree's foot far below. Not elves, for the woodland folk were altogether noiseless in their movements. Then he heard, faintly, a sound like sniffing, and something seemed to be scrabbling on the bark of the tree trunk.
It's the
He
cokehead
stared down
golem.
into the dark, holding his breath. Something was now climbing slowly, and its breath came like a soft hissing through the closed teeth. Then coming up close to the stem, Frodo saw two pale eyes. They stopped and gazed upward unwinking. Suddenly they turned away, and a shadowy figure slipped round the trunk of the tree and vanished. Immediately afterwards, Haldir came climbing swiftly up through the branches.
There was something in this tree that I've never seen before,
He said.
It was not an orc. It fled as soon as I touched the tree stem. It seemed to be wary and to have some skill in trees, or I might have thought it was one of you hobbits. I did not shoot, for I dared not arouse any cries. We cannot risk battle. A long company of orcs have passed. They crossed the Nimrodel,
That's some pretty nice foreshadowing right there, eh, Sean?
and they went on down the old road.
Looks
beside
quite
the
like a hobbit.
They seemed to pick up some scent, and they searched the ground for a while near the place where you halted. The three of us could not challenge 100, so we went ahead and spoke in feigned voices, leading them on into the wood. Orphin has now gone in haste back to our dwellings to warn our people. None of the orcs will ever return out of Lorien, and there will be many elves hidden on the northern border before another night falls. But you must take the road south as soon as it is fully light. Day came pale from the east. As the light grew, it filtered through the yellow leaves of the malorn, and it seemed to the hobbits that the early sun of a cool summer's morning was shining. Pale blue sky peeped among the moving branches. Looking through an opening on the south side of the flet, Frodo saw all the valley of the Silver Lode, lying like a sea of fallow gold tossing gently in the breeze. The morning was still young and cold when the company set out again, guided now by Haldir and his brother Rúmil. Farewell, sweet Nimrodel.
Cried Legolas. Frodo looked back and caught a gleam of white foam among the grey tree stems.
Farewell.
He said. It seemed to him that he would never hear again a running water so beautiful, forever blending its innumerable notes in an endless changeful music. They went back to the path that still went on along the west side of the Silver Lode, and for some way they followed it southward. There were the prints of orc feet in the earth, but soon Haldir turned aside into the trees and halted on the bank of the river under their shadows.
There is one of my people yonder across the stream,
He said.
though you may not see him.
He gave a call like a low whistle of a bird, and out of a thicket of young trees an elf stepped, clad in grey, but with his hood thrown back. His hair glinted like gold in the morning sun.
Haldir skillfully cast over the stream a coil of grey rope, and he caught it and bound the end about a tree near the bank. Celebrant is already a strong stream here, as you see, said Haldir, and it runs both swift and deep and is very cold. We do not set foot in it so far north unless we must. But these days of watchfulness we do not make bridges. This is how we cross. Follow me. He made his end of the rope fast about another tree, and then ran lightly along it, over the river and back again, as if he were on a road.
I can walk this path,
said Legolas.
but the others have not this skill. Must they swim?
No, said Haldir. We have 2 more ropes. We will fasten them above the other, one shoulder high and another half high, and holding these, the strangers will be able to cross with care. When this slender bridge had been made, the company passed over, some cautiously and slowly, others more easily. Of the hobbits, Pippin proved the best, for he was sure-footed, and he walked over quickly, holding only with one hand, but he kept his eyes on the bank ahead and did not look down. Sam shuffled along, clutching hard, and looking down into the pale eddying water as if it was a chasm in the mountains. He breathed with relief when he was safely across.
Live and learn, as my gaffer used to say. He was thinking of gardening, not of roosting like a bird nor trying to walk like a spider. Not even my Uncle Andy ever did a trick like that.
When at length all the company was gathered on the east.
I don't remember that in the book, bro. He's thinking of gardening.
And coiled
You're back, welcome back, welcome back.
Will, who had remained on the other side,
I remember that part in the book.
Slung it on his shoulder, and with a wave of his hand went away, back to Nimrodel, to keep watch. Now, friends, said Haldir, you have entered the Ninth of Lorien, or the Gore, as you would say, for it is the land that lies like a spearhead between the arms of Silverlode and Anduin the Great. We allow no strangers to spy out the secrets of the Ninth. Few are permitted even to set foot here.
That should be better.
As we agreed, I shall here blindfold the eyes of Gimli the Dwarf. The others may walk free for a while until we come nearer to our dwellings, down in Egladin, in the angle between the waters. This was not at all to the liking of Gimli.
The agreement was made without my consent,
he said.
I will not walk blindfolded like a beggar or a prisoner, and I am no spy. My folk have never had dealings with any of the servants of the enemy. Neither have we done harm to the elves. I am no more likely to betray you than Legolas, or any other of my companions.
I do not doubt you, said Haldir. Yet this is our law. I am not the master of the law and cannot set it aside. I have done much in letting you set foot over Celebrant. Gimli was obstinate. He planted his feet firmly apart and laid his hand upon the haft of his axe.
I will go forward free,
he said.
Or I will go back and seek my own land, where I am known to be true of word, though I perish alone in the wilderness.
You cannot go back, said Haldir sternly. Now you have come thus far, you must be brought before the Lord and the Lady. They shall judge you, to hold you or to give you leave as they will. You cannot cross the rivers again, and behind you there are now secret citadels that you cannot pass. You would be slain before you saw them. Gimli drew his axe from his belt. Haldir and his companions bent their bows.
A plague on dwarves and their stiff necks,
said Legolas. Come, said Aragorn. If I am still to lead this company, you must do as I bid. It is hard upon the dwarf to be thus singled out. We will all be blindfolded, even Legolas. That will be best, though it will make the journey slow and dull. Gimli laughed suddenly.
A merry troop of fools we shall look. Will Haldir lead us all on a string like many blind beggars with one dog? But I will be content if only Legolas here shares my blindness.
I'm an elf and a kinsman here,
said Legolas, becoming angry in his turn. Now let us cry a plague on the stiff necks of elves, said Aragorn. But the company shall fare alike. Come, blind our eyes, Haldir.
I shall claim full amends for every fall and stubbed toe if you do not lead us well,
said Gimli as they bound a cloth about his eyes. You will have no claim,
Bro, I don't remember this chapter
Haldir.
in the book.
I shall lead you well, and the paths are smooth and straight.
We're going to see Gladriel, but I don't remember
Alas,
this
for the folly of
chapter.
these days.
Yo,
Said
Squirt,
Legolas.
what's up, bro? I thought you were the other guy in
Here
here,
are
dude.
all enemies
I
of the
didn't
one
see,
who made
I
it.
seen
I
two
must
people in
walk
here, and
blind
you know,
while the sun is merry in the
instinctually, I just
woodland
had a
with the
feeling it
leaves
was
of
you, bro.
gold.
What's up, man?
Fully it may seem,
This
Haldir.
instinctually,
indeed in
my
nothing is the
man.
power of the Dark Lord more clearly shown than in the estrangement that divides all those who still oppose him. Yet so little faith and trust we find now in the world beyond Lothlorien, unless maybe in Rivendell, that we dare not by our own trust endanger our land. We live now among an island amid many perils, and our hands are more often upon the bowstring than upon the harp. The rivers long defend us, but
It's
they are a
alright,
sure
creeping.
guard no more, for the shadow has
Creeping,
crept
lurking.
northward all about us.
Lurking
speak of
and
departing,
jerking.
Yet for that, it already seems too late. The mountains to the west are growing evil. To the east the lands are waste and full of Sauron's creatures, and it is rumored that we cannot now safely pass southward through Rohan, and the mouths of the great river are watched by the enemy. Even if we could come to the shores of the sea, we would find no longer any shelter there. It is said that there are still havens of the High Elves.
We did
They are
it.
far north and west, beyond the land of the Halflings. But where that may be, though the Lord and Lady may know, I do not.
You would at least guess, since you have seen us.
Said Merry.
There are elf havens west of my land, the Shire, where hobbits live.
Happy folk are hobbits to dwell near the shores of the sea, said Haldir. It is long indeed since any of my folk have looked on it. Yet still we remember it in song. Tell me of the havens as we walk.
I cannot.
Said Merry.
I've never seen them. I've never been out of my own land before, and if I had known what the world outside was like, I don't think I should have had the heart to leave it.
Not even to see fair Lothlorien, said Haldir.
The world is indeed full of peril,
And in it there are many dark places. But still there is much that is fair, and though in all lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater. Some there are among us who sing that the shadow will draw back, and peace shall come again. Yet I do not believe that the world about us will ever again be...
Yo, Sean, did you know that J.R.R. Tolkien only ever read like a couple chapters of his book that was ever recorded? I wish we could have gotten an audiobook of him reading his book, man. Like, holy fuck.
It was
His when like the audio of him reading it
the
was
light of the
just
sun as
perfect.
it was aforetime.
It was so much better than any
For
of
the
this
elves, I
shit.
fear it will prove
Oh
at
god,
best of truth.
no sound effects and shit, but like
in which
he
they
was
may
doing
pass
different
the
voices
sea,
for each person and stuff. It was just insane.
unhindered, and leave
It's
Middle-earth
crazy.
forever. Alas for Lothlorien that I love. It would be a poor life.
His
in a land where
enunciation
no
of every
Malon
word.
grew. But if there are melon trees beyond the great sea, none have reported it. As they spoke thus, the company filed slowly along the paths in the wood, led by Haldir, while the other elf walked behind. They felt the ground beneath their feet, smooth and soft, and after a while they walked more freely, without fear of hurt or fall. Being deprived of sight, Frodo found his hearing and other senses sharpened. He could smell the trees and the trodden grass. He could hear many different notes in the rustle of the leaves overhead, the river murmuring away on his right, and the thin clear voices of birds in the sky. He felt the sun upon his face and hands when they passed through the open glade. As soon as he set foot upon the far bank of Silverlode, a strange feeling had come upon him, and it deepened as he walked on into the Nath. It seemed to him that he had stepped over a bridge
Do
of time
you know? Damn.
into a corner of the elder days, and was now walking in a world that
Crazy?
was
I know, bro. It would have been
In
insane.
Rivendell there was memory of ancient things. In Lorien,
It would have been insane
the
if he could
ancient
have got his
things
own
still
audiobook.
lived on in the waking world. Evil had been seen and heard there. Sorrow had been known. The elves feared and distrusted the world outside. Wolves were howling on the wood's borders, but on the land of Lorien, no shadow lay. All that day the company marched on, until they felt the cool evening come and heard the early night wind whispering among many leaves. Then they rested, and slept without fear upon the ground, for their guides would not permit them to unbind their eyes, and they could not climb. In the morning they went on again, walking without haste. At noon they halted, and Frodo was aware that they had passed out under the shining sun. Suddenly he heard the sound of many voices all around him. The marching host of elves had come up silently. They were hastening toward the northern borders to guard against any attack from Moria, and they brought news, some of which Haldir reported. The marauding orcs had been waylaid and almost all destroyed.
The remnant had fled westward towards the mountains and were being pursued. A strange creature also had been seen, running with bent back and with hands near the ground, like a beast, and yet not of beast shape.
Like
It
a
had
hobbit.
eluded capture, and they had not shot it, not knowing whether it was good or ill. And it had vanished down the silver lode southward.
They just let Gollum go.
Also, said Haldir, they bring me a message from the Lord and Lady of the Galadrim. You are all to walk free, even the dwarf Gimli. It seems that the lady knows who and what is each member of your company. New messages have come from Rivendell, perhaps. He removed the bandages first from Gimli's eyes. Your pardon, he said, bowing low. Look on us now with friendly eyes. Look and be glad, for you are the first dwarf to behold the trees.
The coolest
of the
Easter egg I knew was Tom Bombadil in the books was Token.
His eyes were in turn uncovered.
And he died
Frodo
before
looked
the
up and
movies.
caught his
That's
breath.
why he wasn't in the movies.
They were standing in an open
Damn.
space, and to the left stood a great mound, covered with a
What
sward
the
of
fuck?
grass and green as
That's a
springtime in
mind
the elder
fuck right there.
days. Upon it, as a double crown, grew 2 circles of trees. The outer had bark of snowy white, and were leafless, but beautiful in their shapely nakedness. The inner were malon trees, of great height, still arrayed in pale gold. High amid the branches of a towering tree that stood in the center of all there gleamed a white flat. At the feet of the trees, and about the green hillsides, the grass was studded with small golden flowers, shaped like stars. Among them, nodding on slender stalks, were other flowers, white and palest green. They glimmered as a mist amid the rich hue of the grass. Over all, the sky was blue, and the
That's
sun of
fucking crazy.
afternoon glowed upon the hill and cast long green shadows beneath the trees. Behold, you are come to Kerin Amroth, said Haldir. For this is the heart of the ancient realm as it was long ago, and here is the mound of Amroth where in happier days his high house was built. Here ever bloom the winter flowers of the unfading grass, the yellow Elanor and the pale Nifredil. Here we will stay a while and come to the city
Not
of
his
Galadrim
to
at
bear,
dusk.
yeah. Yeah.
The others cast themselves down upon the fragrant grass.
Yeah, he put it
but
on and
Frodo
it had
stood
no
a while,
effect on him and shit. Yeah.
still lost in wonder. It seemed to him that he had stepped through a high window that looked on a vanished world. A light was upon it for which his language had no name. All that he
Yeah,
saw
so
was
because
shapely.
Tom Bombadil held the
shape
rings, that
seemed
means
at
he
once
could have
clear-cut,
he could
as
have
if they
gone
had
to
been first
like
conceived and drawn at the
he could have
uncovering
gone
of
with
his
Frodo
eyes,
and fucking Bilbo to the land
and
with the
ancient
elves.
as if they had
At
endured
the end, because he would have been a
forever.
ring bearer.
He saw no colour, but those he knew, gold and
Essentially.
white and blue and green,
Just
but they were
saying.
fresh and poignant, as if he had at that moment first perceived them and made for them names new and wonderful. In winter here no heart could mourn for summer or for spring. No blemish or sickness or deformity could be seen in anything that grew upon the earth. On the land of Lorien there was no strain. He turned and saw that Sam was now standing beside him, looking round with a puzzled expression, and rubbing his eyes as if he was not
That's your
sure that
theory?
he was
That's
awake.
a good one.
It's sunlight and bright day, right enough, he said. I thought the elves were all for moon and stars, but this is more elvish than anything I've ever heard tell of. I feel as if I was inside a song, if you take my meaning. Haldir looked at them, and he seemed indeed to take the meaning of both thought and word. He smiled. You feel the power of the Lady of the Galadrim, he said. Would it please you to climb with me up Kerin Amroth? They followed him as he stepped lightly up the grass-clad slopes. Though he walked and breathed, and about him living leaves and flowers were stirred by the same cool wind as fanned his face, Frodo felt that he was in a timeless land that did not fade, or change, or fall into forgetfulness. When he had gone and passed again into the outer world, still Frodo, the wanderer of the Shire, would walk there, upon the grass among Elanor and Nifredil and fair Lothlorien. They entered the circle of white trees. As they did so, the south wind blew upon Kerin Amroth and sighed among the branches. Frodo stood still, hearing far off great seas upon beaches that had long ago been washed away, and seabirds crying whose race had perished from the earth. Haldir had gone on, and was now climbing to the high flat. As Frodo prepared to follow him, he laid his hand upon the tree beside the ladder. Never before had he been so suddenly and so keenly aware of the feel and texture of a tree's skin, and of the life within it. He felt a delight in wood, and the touch of it, neither as forester nor as a carpenter. It was the delight of the living tree itself. As he stepped out at last upon the lofty platform, Haldir took his hand and turned him towards the south. "Look this way first," he said. Frodo looked and saw,
I don't
still
know,
at some
Sean.
distance,
I don't have
hill
high
of
hopes
many
for it, to
mighty
be honest with you.
trees, or a city of green
Being
towers.
honest, I don't have high hopes
Which it
for
was
it.
he could not tell. Out of it, it seemed to him that the power and light came that held all the land in sway. He longed suddenly to fly like a bird to rest in a green city. Then he looked eastward, and saw all the land of Lorien running down to the pale gleam of Anduin, the great river. He lifted his eyes across the river, and all the light went out, and he was back again in the world he knew. Beyond the river the land appeared flat and empty, formless and vague, until far away it rose again like a wall, dark and drear. The sun that lay on Lothlorien had no power to enlighten the shadow of that distant height. "There lies the fastness of southern Mirkwood," said Haldir.
Man, it would be interesting.
"It is
So,
clad
like,
in a
when's
forest
it
of
supposed to
dark
take
fir,
place? Like, what time
where the
period is it
trees
supposed to
strive
take
one
place?
against
you
another,
know?
and their branches rot and wither. In the midst upon the stony height stands Dol Guldur, where long the hidden enemy had his dwelling. We fear that now it is inhabited again, and with power sevenfold.
Yeah, no,
The black
like
cloud
it's supposed to
lies
come
often
out, but
over it
like
at night.
in
In
like
this
Lord
high
of the
place
Rings
you may see the
time,
two
you know what I
powers
mean?
that are
Like, during
opposed
this
to one
timeline,
another,
like when is
and
like
ever they
the
strive
Hunt of
now in
Gollum
thought.
or whatever the movie's
But whereas the
called,
light
supposed to
perceives the
happen.
very heart of the darkness,
Is it like in
its own
between like
secret
The
is
Hobbit
not
and
being
like the
discovered.
Lord of the Rings?
Not yet.
Is it like in between those two?
He turned and climbed swiftly
Because
down.
that's the only time I think it would
and
make
they followed
sense,
him.
right?
At the hill's foot Frodo found Aragorn, standing still and silent as a tree, but in his hand was a golden bloom of Eleanor, and a light was in his eyes.
Or is it like in the first movie
He
when
was
like
wrapped in some fair memory,
Gandalf goes to talk
and
to
as
him
Frodo
or
looked at
something?
him, he knew that he beheld things as they once had been in this same
I know.
place. For the grim years were removed from the face of Aragorn, and he seemed clothed in white, a young lord tall and fair, and he spoke words in the elvish tongue to one whom Frodo could not see. Arwen Vanimelda, Namarie, he said, and then he drew a breath, and returning out of his thought, he looked at Frodo and smiled. Here is the heart of elfendom on earth, he said, and here my heart dwells ever, unless there be a light beyond the dark roads that we still must tread, you and I. Come with me. And taking Frodo's hand in his, he left the hill of Cerin Amroth, and came there never again as living man.
I think Lord of the Rings has like my favorite like movies, like trilogy ever made. Like set of fantasy movies. Definitely my favorite.
The sun was sinking behind the mountains, and the shadows were deepening in the woods when they went on again. Their paths
For a
now
long
went into
time.
thickets, where the dusk had already gathered. Night came beneath the trees as they walked, and the elves uncovered their silver lamps. Suddenly they came out into the open again and found themselves under a pale evening sky.
Bro, the
pricked by a
music
few early
But this
stars.
is fire. It's straight out of the movie.
There was a
I
wide,
love it.
treeless space before them, running in a great circle and bending away on either hand. Beyond it was a deep fosse, lost in soft shadow, but the grass upon its brink was green,
You like Mayta?
as
You
if
like
it glowed still in
makeups?
the memory of the sun that had gone. Upon the further side there rose into a great
like
height a green
makeups?
wall encircling
Let's
a
go.
green hill, thronged with malon trees, taller than any they had yet seen in all the land. Their height
out
could
here
not be
packing.
guessed, but they stood up in the twilight like living towers. In their many tired branches, and amid their ever-growing leaves, countless lights were gleaming, green and gold and silver. Haldir turned towards the company. "Welcome to Caras Galathon," he said. "Here is the city of the Galadrim, where dwell the Lord Celeborn and Galadriel.
It's 6 years
Lady
earlier.
Gloria.
Okay.
But we cannot enter here, for the gates do not look
So
north.
Bilbo held it
We
for
must go
6
round to the
years.
southern side, and the way is not short, for the city is great. There was a road paved with white stone running
Jack's
on the outer
Aloysius
brink of the
Hunt.
foss.
Oh,
Along this they went westward, with the city ever climbing up like a green cloud upon their
the
left.
big old piece of meat.
And as the night deepened, more lights sprang forth until all the hills seemed afire with stars. They came at last to a white bridge, and crossing found the great gates of the city. They faced southwest, set between the ends of the encircling wall that here overlapped, and they were tall and strong, and hung with many lamps. Haldir knocked and spoke, and the gates opened soundlessly, but of guards Frodo could see no sign. The travellers passed within, and the gates shut behind them. They were in a deep lane between the ends of the wall, and passing quickly through it they entered the city of the trees. No folk could they see, nor hear any feet upon the paths, but there were many voices, about them and in the air above. Far away up on the hill they could hear the sound of singing falling from on high like a soft rain upon leaves. They went along many paths and climbed many stairs until they came to the high places and saw before them amid the wide lawn a fountain shimmering. It was lit by silver lamps that swung from the boughs of trees, and it fell into a basin of silver, from which a white stream spilled. Upon the south side of the lawn there stood the mightiest of all the trees. Its great smooth bole gleamed like grey silk, and up it towered, until its first branches far above opened their huge limbs under the shadowy clouds of leaves. Beside it a broad white ladder stood, and at its foot
Got like
3
1
elves
mil
were
when we're
seated.
done this.
They sprang up as the travellers approached, and Frodo saw that they were tall and clad in grey mail, and from their shoulders hung long white cloaks. "Here dwell Celeborn and Galadriel," said Haldir. "It is their wish that you should ascend and speak with them." One of the elf wardens then blew a clear note on a small horn, and it was answered 3 times from far above. "I will go first," said Haldir. "Let Frodo come next, and with him Legolas. The others may follow as they wish.
I
It
cut
is a
off the
long
tip
climb
of
for
my
those that are
thumb.
not accustomed to such stairs, but you may rest upon the
I
way."
cut off the tip of my thumb.
As he climbed
Kinda
slowly
low-key
up,
hurts
Frodo
like a
passed many
motherfucker.
flets, some on one side, some on another, and some set about the bole of the tree, so that the lad
I'm playing some Apex. That's what's good, Eric. I'm playing some fucking Apex. Nah, but like it looks like I got titties because I got an open heart surgery as a baby. So my pecs can't form properly. Unfortunately. Rip. Dre? Oh my god. I almost get a legend. I can almost get the legend. Yo, dude, do your thing, Shawnee boy. Appreciate you, bro. So, trouble. Have a good one. God bless. Go do your thing, bro.
I know what you're looking for. Eventually, everything falls apart, and I'll be there to play with the pieces. Let's make this fast. There's a hot bath waiting for me. This is your champion.
Deepcorner.com.
Master.
No.
Let's descend from the cosmos. Call us shooting stars!
Hear it every game, bro.
Let's do this. Target landed near me. Wrong choice. Let's check out that link.
Oh man, the sun was in my eyes, I couldn't see.
I brought down a car.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
The next ring's far.
Stand my out. Tossing a frag. White.
The enemy's far off.
We have 1 minute. First blood.
Well, we have an enemy out
They're
there.
coming.
Broken enemy shield. The enemy's far. Reloading.
There may be a shooter nearby. Got 45 seconds to the far ring.
That enemy shield is broken.
They spotted me.
Enemy.
Taking
They're
shots.
not close.
Recharging my shield.
Frag out. Leveled up. Frag out.
Sorry.
Enemy shield. Dropped an enemy.
Contact with hostile.
They're above. And the
Broken enemy.
killed that enemy.
Hang up. Reloading.
Reload. The enemy's on me. Getting shot.
Contact. Opening fire. That was the last one. Nice work.
Got a new upgrade. Can't wait to unleash it.
Need to recharge my shield.
New kill leader appointed.
Heads up. New kill leader.
Care package being delivered.
Care package incoming. Intaiha. Crafting. Big
Damn, I don't even think anyone was in my stream to see that nade.
Crafting. Most of the time,
Rip.
I get people to do that for me.
I needed this 5, yeah.
Got an extended energy mag here. Level 3.
Not the I can make use of that.
Backpack here. Level 1.
Damn.
Why, care package over there.
I like this spot's energy. Let's go.
Hostile spotted.
I see a ring console. It's far, but could be useful.
Always ready with the fallback.
We have a problem, and there they are. Mobile respawn beacon here. Right in my Opening fire. Reload.
Target spotted. Enemy shield cracked. Enemy spotted. Reloading.
Frag out. Reloading.
Reloading. They spotted me. I'm taking shots.
Form me.
Using our void nexus. Another path.
Using the void nexus.
That enemy shield is broken. Here's their...
No, your fucking your thing disappeared, bro. No, I have one knocked. Fuck.